They suddenly expect your child to be so much more independent. Teachers expect students to track their own assignments, manage their time, and speak up when they need help. That's a lot for any middle schooler, let alone one with dyslexia. I'm Jenny Sherson, ex-special educator turned dyslexia interventionist. It wasn't so long ago that I, too, was overwhelmed by balanced literacy versus structured literacy, education speak, and everything in between. Fast forward after many, many hours of self-driven education, and you'll see I've built a thriving dyslexia practice helping students from age 6 to 18. My specialties? Working with the quote-unquote difficult, almost always 2E, student, and breaking down the complexities of dyslexia into everyday language strategies and action steps. My child is doing okay in elementary school with all the support we've put in place, but I'm freaking out about middle school. Multiple teachers, lockers, changing classes. How is my dyslexic child going to handle all that? If this thought has crossed your mind, you are not alone. The transition from elementary to middle school represents one of the biggest shifts in your child's educational journey. And for dyslexic students, this transition comes with unique challenges that require thoughtful preparation. Today, we're exploring why this transition is so critical for dyslexic students and what you need to be thinking about to ensure your child doesn't just survive, but thrives in this new environment. So, what makes this move to middle school such a big deal? Think about elementary school for a minute. Your child probably had that one main teacher who really got to know them, how they learn best, what trips them up, and what they're really amazing at. This teacher likely figured out how to make those accommodations work just right. But middle school? Whole different ballgame. Suddenly, your child has 6 or 7 teachers, each with their own style, expectations, and honestly, varying levels of understanding about dyslexia. Your child is hustling between classrooms all day, trying to work that locker combination, which can be a nightmare, keeping track of assignments across all those subjects, and navigating the social scene, which gets way more complicated. And the reading and writing demands, they skyrocket. In elementary school, your child was learning to read. Now they're expected to read to learn. The textbooks get way denser, vocabulary gets trickier, and there's just so much more reading in every single subject. And here's the thing, that makes many of us parents lose sleep. They suddenly expect your child to be so much more independent. Teachers expect students to track their own assignments, manage their time, and speak up when they need help. That's a lot for any middle schooler, let alone one with dyslexia. One thing many parents don't realize is that schools actually have a structured process for these transitions, but it's not always clear to families what happens when. So let me walk you through what this timeline typically looks like. Around January, February of 5th grade, the process usually kicks off. This is when elementary and middle school teams start having initial conversations about incoming students with IEPs. They're looking at which students will be transitioning and what needs they'll have. By March or April, schools often schedule transition IEP meetings. These are super important because they bring together both the elementary team that knows your child so well and the middle school team that will be working with them next. These meetings focus on reviewing your child's current IEP and discussing how services will transfer to the new setting. During these meetings, the teams discuss how to implement accommodations in the middle school environment, address the increased academic demands, and plan for the shift from having one teacher to multiple teachers. This is where having both teams in the room is so valuable. The elementary team can share insights about what works for your child, and the middle school team can explain how they'll adapt those strategies for their setting. After the transition meeting, many middle schools offer orientation events specifically for students with IEPs during late spring. These visits often happen when the middle school is still in session, giving your child a chance to see what a typical day looks like while getting familiar with the physical layout. Over the summer, the middle school special education team continues planning. They're distributing information about incoming students to their various teachers and making sure everyone understands the accommodations that need to be in place from day one. Then, just before school starts, many schools offer additional orientation opportunities, maybe a tour when the building is less crowded or a chance to meet teachers ahead of time. These can be incredibly helpful for easing anxiety. And once school starts, there's often a check in meeting scheduled around 4 to 6 weeks into the year. This is a chance to assess how the transition is going and make any needed adjustments before small issues become bigger problems. During these transition meetings and planning sessions, several key areas should be addressed. The communication systems between home and school should get established. With multiple teachers involved, it's important to have clear channels for sharing information and coordinating support. The team works through how accommodations will be implemented across different classrooms and subjects. What worked in elementary school often needs adjustment for the middle school setting. There's discussion about developing self-advocacy skills, how your child will be supported in learning to communicate their needs to different teachers. Organization systems get addressed too. The teams look at what supports will help your child manage materials, assignments, and schedules across multiple classes. And importantly, the social emotional aspects of the transition are considered. Middle school brings in a whole new social dynamic, and your child may need support with these changes. While this transition process should be smooth in theory, I've seen certain challenges come up repeatedly. Sometimes information doesn't transfer completely between schools, even with the formal transition meetings. Important details about how your child learns best can get lost in the shuffle. Another challenge is finding the right balance between support and independence. Middle school is a time when students are expected to take more responsibility, but this shift needs to happen gradually with the right scaffolding in place. Perhaps the biggest challenge is ensuring that accommodations are properly adapted for the middle school environment. What works in one classroom with one teacher often needs significant adjustment when applied across multiple classrooms and teachers. As your child goes through this transition, keep an eye out for these warning signs that might indicate that they need additional support. All of a sudden, there's a resistance to going to school. Homework takes significantly longer than it should. You notice an increased frustration or meltdown related to schoolwork. Grades are declining despite effort. And you see physical symptoms like headaches or stomach aches. And they start to withdraw from activities they previously enjoyed. If you notice these signs, it's important to reach out to your child's case manager or guidance counselor quickly. Most schools have systems in place to provide additional support, but they might not realize your child is struggling unless you bring it to their attention. While schools have formal processes for managing these transitions, you still play a vital role as your child's advocate. Here's how you can maximize the effectiveness of the transition process. Share your insights about what strategies have worked well for your child. You have valuable information that can help the new team understand your child's needs. Ask questions during the transition meetings if anything is unclear, especially about how specific accommodations will work in the middle school setting. Visit the middle school with your child if possible, helping them become familiar with the new environment. Maintain open communication with your child about the upcoming changes. Listen to their concerns and help them prepare. And perhaps most importantly, trust your instincts. If something doesn't seem right during the transition process, speak up. You know your child best. The transition to middle school is a significant milestone, but with proper planning and coordination between school teams, your dyslexic child can thrive in this new environment. Remember, you're not navigating this process alone. There should be dedicated professionals helping to ensure a smooth transition. That said, sometimes the standard transition process doesn't fully address the unique needs of dyslexic students. The meeting happens, the paperwork gets filled out, but you might still be left wondering, is this IEP actually going to work in middle school? Are the right accommodations in place? Will my child's specific learning needs be understood by all of those new teachers? These are exactly the kinds of questions we help parents answer in our Untangling Dyslexia from Identification to IEP program. We don't run transition meetings or create transition plans. That's the school's job. But we do equip you with the knowledge to evaluate whether your child's IEP is truly middle school ready and how to effectively advocate if it's not. Understanding the nuts and bolts of how an IEP should be structured to support a dyslexic student across multiple classrooms is a game changer. When you know what should be in that document and how it should support your child, you can walk into any transition meeting with confidence. For more information about how to ensure your child's IEP is truly set up for middle school success, head over to literacyuntangled.com or send us a DM on Instagram. I'd love to hear about your experience with school transitions or answer any questions you might have. Remember, with the right support and preparation, your child can handle any educational transition like a pro. Until next time, bye-bye. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Literacy Untangled. If you loved this episode as much as I did, head on over and rate and subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you want to continue the conversation or share your takeaways, head on over to our Instagram at Literacy Untangled and comment on your favorite part. I can't wait to hang out with you again soon. Bye.